any nurses, I have a question for you. Are you genuinely happy in your job? So my fellow nurse friend Mike, he actually shared on my Facebook page in our private group. He said this job is awful now. I don't know if I know a single nurse who is genuinely happy with their job or how it makes them feel. And I was like, oof, like you can feel the weight of that. And honestly, Todd, you and I come from a space where we were super dissatisfied in our careers and we were looking to escape. We were not looking for solutions to shift ourselves to have a better experience. We were looking to GTFO, if you know what I mean. Because honestly, like we just had lack of clarity around workplace impact, satisfaction in our careers. And I don't, for me personally, I don't think I had the differentiation between this is my job, my job that I'm doing as a nurse versus this is my nursing career. And how do I leverage getting clarity around workplace impact so that I have both career satisfaction but also balance and satisfaction in my own personal life? Like this is a whole thing. So tell me, Todd, what are your thoughts? Like, are nurses genuinely happy in their job? And like, what does this mean in terms of satisfaction and clarity and all the things?
That it's such a loaded question.
Right?
But when you talk to nurses about this, it's like a lot of them are just stressed, overwhelmed, and they don't know what to do about it. You get the proverbial like, I wish I could serve coffee or run or work in a flower shop, and then the but comes. But I want to make the same money that I'm making now. Why can't I be a dog walker, right? And there's so many layers to unpack with this, because you and I have both been there, and I've done a lot of different things because I got caught up in that hamster wheel of like, hey, let me go into corporate. I did medical device, I did clinical education in companies, so you deal with a whole different level of stress. Or you're like, let me try going into like the OR, or let me try going here. So these are the mental gymnastics. The thing that I often see is nurses going to get more education. It's the classic like, let me be a leader, and then it's this upper echelon of another level of stress, or let me go be a nurse practitioner, or let me get to this certain level. So I feel like it's a little bit of a, hey, let me get out so I could get more relief. It's like this relief. I'm finding, and you and I have done this, nurses are trying to be entrepreneurs, and they try to wrap it around something they're interested in. But the challenge becomes, what's, what are people going to pay for and how to run a business, which is a whole nother level.
Dude.
You know what I'm
Like
saying,
I
though.
could run a code easier than running a business. Like I kid you not. Like business makes my brain like melt out my ears. I've learned so much in the last 10 years. And I genuinely love it, but it's not a way to escape nursing. I'm telling you that right now. Like it's like you said when nurses go to get more education, like a business is the same. Like we're either over educating our escape or we're escaping by creating a business. And what I can say, you and I both from experience, because we both did this, we kept trying to escape the place that we were in by trying a new job, by, starting a business, like all the things. But what you and I both discovered is that everywhere we went, there we were. Like every freaking time I made a change, I did something different, I didn't break free because I brought me with me. And what I know now that I wish I had known then is that the thing I really needed to break free from was ineffective thought patterns and things that kept me stuck in patterns of like over sacrificing, being self serving, right? Like, it was so frustrating, but I'm so stoked that I know what I know now because I actually left the profession for 5 freaking years because I was trying to escape it when really what I learned is that I needed to come home to my true self. I needed to break free from ineffective thought patterns that kept me disconnected from what was authentic to me. Like, what did you find in the process of trying to escape your own bullcrap?
It's interesting. I love that you shared that. It's an inside job, 100%. Like, I think there's so much mental gymnastics about this, and it takes just starting to ask key questions, and was the birth of this blueprint that we're putting up on the screen that we created. But really, what happened was I started to go into these spots. I grew, I found some certain satisfactions. But,
Yeah.
just like anything, there's nothing's black and white. And if you're open enough to pay attention to the playground that you play in, it's a reflection of what goes on the inside. And what I found, and it's really interesting because, 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it was crazy, and it put me on the other side of healthcare, and it also put me in a very unique situation where I went back to the bedside, and I found a certain level of connection in that. Like, I was like, wow, I could help people journey in this way. And what it taught me to go back to initially of why I decided to become a nurse and reconnect with that. Like, man, I really do like helping people. I do like spending time with the patient. I really do. And of course, we could get into the minutia like, hey, I'm so busy, I don't really have time. But you do have some time. And it's honoring that little time and starting to honor that. That is great. The other thing I found was I didn't have to be this amazing leader. Like, I was in leadership. I've done all this thing. I'm like now on the front lines and able to just be I'm grateful for being a nurse in a sense. Like, there's so many different things you could do now. And think about it. I'm kind of at a middle age, but I have a career that there's really no age discrimination. I have friends that work in different fields, and they're like, oh my God, nobody's hiring me. They're looking for, but nurses, they need nurses. And as long as you could walk and you have your wits about you, you could still have a career, which is, there's so many benefits, but we so focus on all the stuff that's going bad. We don't look at the little gems.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff that's going bad for us to focus on, right? Like, I'm just gonna say it. Like, I'm back in the field, in the front lines, in the ER, training brand new nurses. Like, and I love what you said about how it took you back to when you became a nurse. And one of the questions on the blueprint that I had to sit with for a long time, that, like, I swear to God, the first time somebody posed this question to me was like, what's your vision for your career for the next 5 years? And I was like, I'm going to be freaking burned out walking dogs in 5 years, right? Like, I was so just like crusty and sarcastic and like all the things. But really, when I was like, okay, let me set my bitterness and resentment down for a second and really consider what is my vision for my career for the next 5 years, it did take me back to when I became a nurse. Because when I became a nurse, I was filled with joy and excitement, and I couldn't wait to, just get involved, to find my specialty, to learn, to grow, to, get involved with like the clinical ladder programs and impact my department. And like, I was all in. And somewhere along the line, I lost that connection to who I authentically was as a nurse, like who I started. And like you said, the too much focus on the problems in the system over time stole my perspective from what really mattered. And it happened so insidiously that I didn't even realize it was happening until one day I'm like, straight up, fuck this, I'm out. Like, deuces, I'm done, right? Like, I'm running away, I'm escaping, like, there's nothing left for me here. This career has burned me to ashes and I'm out, right? And truly, like, that was just me saying, with my current skills and capabilities and with my current thought processes, I have no more capacity and no more solutions. Like, I had run out of solutions with my current skill set. And the only thing that made sense was escaping. And like, to no fault of my own, right? Like, we all have our own journeys. But what we're so excited to share is that there is a way that you don't have to overeducate your escape. You don't have to try to build a business to jump off the ship on. There are some very simple thought process, like the 6 inches between your head, that will make such a big difference in terms of your satisfaction. It'll fire up your joy for your career again. Like Todd, if you would ask me 5 years ago if I was going to go back to nursing, my answer was hell to the MF and no. Like, you will not catch me back in that career. I'm done. I'm dropping my license. I'm not renewing, like nothing. I'm out. And I'm so glad that that was not true for me, because now I'm back and I am loving my career in ways that I didn't think were possible 5 years ago.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Although we have tons of experience creating businesses, going to different things. So, for those people that are confused, please reach out to us. We could help you in that way. But oftentimes it's really reconnecting. And I want to share a little, I know we've been here a little bit, but a story that just reinvigorated something for me. I went, I'm at the bedside. I do more of the home care now, but I went to hospice and I did some training, and it was new for me. Like, for those nurses that are doing things that are in this changing world, we get stressed out. And this one preceptor, she was amazing. And I felt this fear about some stuff. This is our own stuff that crops up and causes us to go nuts. And she goes, Todd, you got this. I'm here for you. And I was amazed by her energy and her just being that calm thing. And it was like she was really a mentor. And I think what we need more of is for us to have and tap into this for each other, so that we could get through all this together.
That part. It's unfortunate that we don't see more of that. I will tell you that working in the ER setting, like, it's very stressful and there's a lot of strong personalities. Like, you got to have a strong personality to be an ER nurse, like, period. But I think that one thing that could really benefit the profession, especially from the ER perspective, is supporting the nurses in identifying those habits of thinking and teaching them how to honor their strengths and how to call out strengths in others. Because what I see more often than not is ER nurses like butting heads and like tearing each other down, rather than being like, hey, you're a badass, I build you up. And I don't think it's to any fault of one specific nurse. The system is difficult. Like, there's a lot of things that factor into that. But I think that we have such an opportunity to shift the way that we interact with each other, so that instead of tearing each other apart, we're actually building each other up. And I think it's entirely possible. Like, imagine if each and every single nurse that showed up said, hey, you got this, and I've got your back today. Like, I feel like I'd be a whole lot more satisfied if I knew that every single one of my coworkers felt that way.
Right. But, we have to start to be that one. We have to be the light in the darkness.
Yep.
Alyssa's in the chat and she said she went back to school to be a cosmetologist. She said nursing's very stressful. And the coworkers is what make it hard too. Some like to cause problems for sure.
That's real talk.
That is real talk. Alyssa, thanks for the comment. And yeah, so cosmetology, dog walking,
So
coffee
my
shop.
new grad nurse, by the way, yesterday was her first shift on her own. I'm so freaking proud of her. She actually was thinking about like ways to create alternative streams of income. And she was like, oh, I could just pick up overtime. I was like, honestly, from a nurse who's been it for 20 years, I don't recommend doing that, because it just feeds the exhaustion and the burnout when you're still trying to figure out how to get your feet underneath you. So she signed up on a website to like walk dogs and house sit, which I think is so amazing that you keep going back to that, because it is something that generates some extra income. It gets you out of the rat race a little bit. It gives you some peace. It gives you some clarity. Like, I think it's a freaking brilliant idea. So anyway, Todd, as we wrap up today, what is the one thing that you would love the nurses watching this to walk away with?
I just that there's hope. Like, as much as you think like this is just this, you're destined to this stress and this job that's going to run you to the ground. Um, there's definitely hope. And, Jess and I had put together this blueprint, which is on the screen now. It's free. Go and download it. But that there's hope, and it just takes a few simple shifts in perspective, but it's a journey to get there. And stay tuned, because we've developed another thing that is just a game changer in shifting that. What do you say, Jess?
I'm super excited, and I love your message of like there is hope, right? And this is why we developed the Break Free Blueprint, because it's questions that somebody cared enough to ask us that opened up our minds to another perspective. Like truly, genuinely, do you have job satisfaction? Are you enjoying what you're doing right now as a nurse? And when was the last time you dreamed about your vision for your career over the next 5 years moving into the future? Like those two questions alone, like had me facing some pretty hard realities and some pretty nasty thoughts that were going on in my head. So even if you don't download the blueprint, I would encourage you to be brave enough to just sit with those two questions for yourself and be willing to hear the answers that bubble up, because I'm telling you, like, you know more than you think you know if you're brave enough to listen.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining, and feel free to get the blueprint and follow us. Have
Yep.
an awesome day.